Yo, what is going on, you guys? YUGIOH here, and today we're coming at you with my updated ban list prediction for March 2025. Now, the most recent for ban limit list that we do have, I believe it was December 2024, so it's around that time. Quarterly ban list predictions has, so a lot of people, YouTubers, have been putting up their ban list. I thought I'd go ahead and throw my hat in the ring for them as well. As far as this goes, it should not be a super crazy ban list. I mean, realistically, I feel like for the most part we have a good idea of what the issue cards are, and anything besides that is kind of up to personal preference, which seems to be more of a wish list, realistically, just being honest from everything I've seen so far. But for the most part, I think, like I said before, I think we understand what the problem cards are, so we'll go ahead and tackle those first and kind of take it from there and see where this kind of vibe gets us. But first things first, guys, I just wanted to go ahead and thank you so much for everyone who's been watching the channel recently. A lot of Trickstar hype, I understand, but if you guys have any other decks that you guys want to see on the channel, of course, besides just my nerdy shit, let me know in the comments, and we'll go ahead and bring it out to you guys. I have some combo videos in mind, some other deck profiles in mind I'm going to go ahead and share with y'all, but if there's anything you guys are specifically interested in, just let me know in the comments and we'll get to it. But let's get right into this ban list, guys. Let's not beat around the bush too much. Like I said before, the first things we're going to talk about is the cards that I believe are immediate issue or problem cards. So I think the most hyped one right now, right, is Moon in the Close Sky. Moon in the Close Sky is the reason why this card is so good is because it makes every single deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Able to go into the Fiend engine, which is great when it first came out, but it's gotten to the point where it's so splashed into everything that it just becomes slightly unhealthy for the game if all you're trying to do is just throw Fiendsmith in there. Even I'm trying to throw Fiendsmith and Trickstar in some way, shape, or form, but it just promotes unhealthy gameplay. The fact that this card just bridges literally everything into one engine, where I think that in the Fiendsmith engine has to get hit in some type of way. I mean, it's dominated the meta realistically, right, for the better half of a year now, if I'm not mistaken, since the cards came out. So while this card being the newest addition to it and it not being a prevalent part of it, I want to find a way so we can hit this deck, this engine I should say, or deck, I guess, depending on how you see it, but I want to be able to hit it without destroying the deck itself. The deck itself is a lot of fun. I personally like it. I think it promotes positive gameplay. I think that it has its flaws, obviously. I think it has obviously a lot of good it brings to the table, but I think by banning this card, it really just avoids the ability for every single deck to just splash this into it. Now, yes, YUGIOH can still abuse it with Exciton Knight, which Exciton Knight is a really good card for other reasons. The fact that it also bridges into the Fiendsmith engine. There's no other real way, I think, to hit this deck, except if you want to limit Engraver. Again, that seems more of a potential wishlist item, but I think for sure Moon in the Close Sky is going to get banned. Again, the accessibility is just kind of ridiculous. You can't really like hit Lurie because it kills the deck. You can't really ban Engraver because it kills the deck. You can't really, what's it called? You could limit Track if that's something that you want to do for sure. If you want to give it like a double hit, I think just banning the Moon in the Close Sky should be enough to prevent players from flashing this to absolutely everything. Again, that's my personal opinion, but I think as far as prediction goes, these seems to be pretty spot on. I might be wrong though. I might be wrong. Next problem card that we need to talk about is the Moon Glacier card, the one that rips 2 from your opponents. And in the Atlantean deck overall, it's just it's not considered currently like a top 1, 2, 3 deck. Is like right under that, like a 1.5, I would say. Like at first, who obviously Malice and Bystial, maybe you throw Blue Eyes in that mix, and in that same wavelength you throw in Atlantean, because if Atlantean goes first and you don't play Jordan Lockbird, you lose. Strictly, right? Unless your all 5 cards in your hand are all hand traps to prevent your opponent from adding or drawing or activating on-field effects or graveyard effects. So there's a lot that this deck can really do, and I think that this deck is unhealthy for these reasons, right? So 2 hits I have for Atlantean. Normal Atlantean is banning of the Moon Glacier because this card is just horribly freaking what's it called, toxic. And I think limiting of Totally Awesome is fair, just because the double toad boards that this deck can make is just ridiculous. Double Bahamut Shark I don't mind, but the fact that they're summoning Toad twice is a problem, right? Summoning Toad twice is a problem. I think limiting Toad, when dealing with 1 Toad is definitely not that bad as you having to deal with 2. We're in a format where realistically Omni Negates aren't really heard of anymore, aren't really a thing, I would say. There's specific monster negates, specific spell and trap negates, but Omni Negates aren't really as prevalent in our current format, I would say. So having this limited is something that might promote healthier gameplay and doesn't outright kill the deck. You can still play Merman Atlantean. You can still, I've seen some lists where they want to hit Neptibista 1, hit Dragoons, hit the infantry, whatever. I think that's a bit too much. I think just these 2 hits should be fine. But again, that's how I feel, and that's how I feel like that Konami is gonna hit it, because realistically, the main focus is gonna be on the top 2 decks, which is going to be the Ryzeal deck and the Malice deck, which I don't think either one are going to get any type of engine hits. Let me just go ahead and say that right off the bat. The decks just came out like, what, 2 months ago? The decks are way too new. I personally, I feel that there's not going to be. I feel like if Konami is smart, they're going to think the more financially responsible route and limit Bonfire. That way they can sell more of the 7th Tachyon, or they might just outright ban Bonfire. I don't think they will ban Bonfire, but limiting Bonfire seems to be the most logical choice, just because with this Bonfire being limited, that means you have to then play the 7th Tachyon card to increase the consistency of your deck, because if you don't play it, then you lose consistency in your deck, and so on and so forth. Plus, 7th Tachyon helps you search Lancia, which then adds Malice, which is the next deck we gotta talk about as well, which is gonna be the Dimension Shifter, which I believe could either be banned or limited. I think either way, it solves the entire problem. Limiting it, I think, is still a problem, because you still, as a Malice player, I would still main or side, whatever. I'll probably main it if it's at one of this copy, because you know that if you draw this card, it's an auto win. Kind of like similarly to like Called by the Grave, where if you have it, you just like sack your opponent, which why I feel like Called by the Grave is very sacky. But realistically, I think Shifter needs to get banned for that to just completely. And that my issue with Dimension Shifter, again, I used to play Malice before I made this list, so I main deck these Shifters, so I know that card is crazy. The fact that it's a lingering floodgate for 2 turns is a problem. If it did it for 1 turn, it wouldn't be nearly as bad. We have trap cards that do that. We have D-Fissure as well. We had different dimension grounds. We have other cards that do that, and that's not a problem. The problem is a lingering hand trap floodgate. I can activate whenever you want, as long as you don't have cards in your graveyard, which for cards that play this is relatively easy. And I just think that's completely unhealthy. So I just think that in order for that to happen, this needs to go away, and so on and so forth. And another card that I think has been on the hype recently as well is Bystial Magnema. This is not unlimited. Calm down. I'm just talking about it, right? So Bystial Magnema, I've heard a lot of people individuals say that this card needs to get banned because it promotes the double Bystial in the end phase loop, which is true. It does do that. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this card is just fine. It does suck because it does add a little bit of consistency to the Blue Eyes deck, but realistically Blue Eyes has way more than enough, and most topping Blue Eyes lists don't even play this, but this is again another indirect hit to Malice, realistically, just because Malice has so many ways to just play around hand traps. If you imperm their Dormouse, you're just cool, link off with the Link Decoder, banish with the Bystial, because they play anywhere from 6 to 10 Bystials in the deck, and I just think that just unhealthy, especially the fact that you get to additional search, it replaces itself. It's just such a good card. There's a reason this card's at 1 already, and having it banned, I should say, is definitely something that I could 100% see happening. Same thing with Druid Swarm getting limited as well. Druid Swarm is such an amazing card as well. Just being able to, you can crash into something and then activate the effect Send. It doesn't destroy, so that's something that is huge as well. 2500 beater is really, really big as well. So I think that if you ban Magnema, I feel Druid Swarm is far less of an issue because you can't search it, but even then the argument goes you only have one way to search the Druid Swarm unless you played the Bystial Rebellion. So I think putting it to 1 makes most amount of sense here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If Bystial being banned, Bystial Magnema being banned is enough, or if you feel like Druid Swarm should also get banished as well. Not banished, limited as well. If you guys want to take this off or on, I feel like this is kind of up in the air. It would be a great card for them to potentially reprint in Stampede. So other cards that we can definitely consider hitting in the Malice strategy would be something like a Gold Sarcophagus. I feel like we're going after Malice indirectly and also directly quite a decent amount, which with the Shifter or the Bystial. Bystials is, I mean, regardlessly unhealthy, and then the fact that Malice plays literally main deck all 4 of these cards is ridiculous outright. But Gold Sarcophagus is going to be crazy good for the Malice strategies because it adds another version of the field spell as well, so that's something that'll be worth considering. But again, I think I've done enough to the main deck, to the main threats, I should say, in the format. Realistically, YUGIOH is not going to get too hit, because realistically, I think what they're going to do is either limit or ban Bonfire so they can sell 7 Tachyon, and I want to hit any of the engine cards because, again, would be, I think, personally a bit too much. But you can still play Fiend with YUGIOH with the Exton Knight, so it doesn't really hurt that deck, which is something that, you know, is worth looking into as well. But another rank 4 I do want to hit is the Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is such a strong card. It is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that YUGIOH can make this easily, I mean, technically so can the Atlantean deck, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So I think banning Abyss Dweller is something that could happen. Again, this is not something that I predict will happen, but it's something that is, this is where it starts to get a little bit more speculation, guys. So I just want to go ahead and put that out there real quick. Don't take everything I say with 100% guarantee. It's something that could happen. Will it happen? Who knows? Other cards I believe need to get addressed in this format is first and foremost is going to be Nightmare Griffin. Again, I feel like I'm hitting Malice a lot. I have nothing against Malice, I promise, but Nightmare Griffin is a really unhealthy card for Yu-Gi-Oh! You make this, if it goes through, you pretty much win the game, which is really unhealthy. I very much am a fan of Malice. Again, from having played Malice for like a month or two, I very much enjoy this deck, but I liked it a lot more when it ended on the Terahertz with the additional pack bit in the extra deck, and it had, like, you know, the fusion that negated spells. It seemed a lot more interactive and a lot more fun that way, definitely. Right? But having it end on the Griffin with the A-Bow, it just seems so unhealthy. You can still end on A-Bow. You make it with the Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Cerberus as well. You can use it also. So you have other ways to navigate your way to it, but I just don't like the fact that Nightmare Griffin just like stops everything. And also Nightmare Griffin is ridiculous because you special summon it, activate the effect to reset your GWC after you activate it on your turn, so you can activate it on your opponent's turn as well, and that just... it's just ridiculous. It's just such a good card, man. Such a good card. I think hitting these, Malice is obviously still playable because we're not hitting any of the engine pieces. You just have to play it a lot more Cybers friendly, which, again, heading into Alliance Insight in about a month or so, if I'm not mistaken, helps out the strategy a lot more because you are still going to be able to play a much more pure Cybers engine and Cyber strategy within your Malice deck. So that's something that I very much would like to see. That Grasslix Gleaner can easily come to 2. It's currently at 1. That Grasslix Gleaner, I personally believe, is more of a fun card than anything. I think that this with Tier Limit would be crazy to see, but it's already limited and it's not doing anything. At 2, I don't think it's going to be doing any more. That's my personal opinion. I mean, realistically, I don't see a current deck. Actually, Orcus is going to get new support here soon as well. I'm not sure if it's an Alliance Insight or if it's going to be in a different set, but that would be huge for Orcus as well, just to be able to fuel your graveyard with a whole bunch of nonsense, right? What's this called? The Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow can definitely come back to 1. And there's no reason for this card to really be on the bench. You can really, realistically, just unban this card. I mean, I should say you can unban the Scarecrow, and it's really not going to be a big problem, I don't think, because Super Heavy Samurai, if I'm not mistaken, went into Baron, if I'm not mistaken. I think it did. So without Baron, it just depletes what Super Heavy Samurai can do. Plus, we got like a week or two of Super Heavy Samurai and then completely like left the format for no reason. So that was really disappointing. I think that Super Heavy Samurai engine is really still really good. I think it'd be a great meta contender if we just got the Scareclaw back, or not the Scareclaw. What's this called? Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow. Monkey Board can come to 3. I mean, pendulums aren't doing anything. I think Triff would be really happy about this as well, so why not make Triff happy? Also, since the original Sinful Spoils is now officially gone off of the format, and that card can stay gone because that means that Snake Eye can what's it called, Ash can come back to 3 easily. I mean, realistically, this card is good, really good. And I mean, Snake Eye, I don't feel like it does anything without the original Sinful Spoils. Obviously, it still does a lot, but if you're hitting Bonfire, I think Snake Eye Ash can definitely come to 3, and that way you can play Snake Eye as like a pure deck maybe, without having OSS, without having Bonfire kind of hurts it definitely, the consistency of it, so that's something that makes the deck a little bit more linear, a little bit more susceptible to hand traps, so I think Snake Eye Ash coming to 3, if Bonfire gets limited to 1, I think that's something I could definitely see happening. And a card that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, did get announced for a reprint in Stampede as well is Masterpiece, the True Draco Slaying King, which I believe needs to at least come to 1 on this next Forbidden Limited. I've been screaming for this card to come back. Same thing with Dragonic Diagram. I'm screaming for these cards to come back for a while now. I think that we have a Ryzeal Detonator that has 3 to 4 to 5 pops per turn, which is absolutely ridiculous, and just pops with the second you activate something basically for free, which paired with the Ryzeal Cross is also a negate as well, so that's something that is way better, I feel like, than this card. Plus it's 2950 attack. I'm pretty sure Detonator can just run over it with the additional 50 if I'm not mistaken, so that's something I feel like can definitely happen. If I'm not mistaken, Barrage is at 1 as well, as to put Barrage to 2. I think it's going to Dryden I think can definitely come back to 1. I think the Maximum Crisis decks, the True Draco and the what's it called, the Zodiac, can definitely start coming back. I mean, I think we're in a point in Yu-Gi-Oh where decks made in 2017 2018 can compete without being too toxic. They can really, if Dryden comes back, you can play Ryzeal Zodiac, which I think would be really interesting to see, me personally. Prankets can 100% come back. Just bring Meow Meow Mew to 1 just so that can be playable. Is not that toxic. It's not that serious. Especially if you leave all the Bystials in the deck, in the format, then you should be fine. I mean, Bystials don't really hit Pranket, but you get what I'm saying. So, what attribute is this? I think this is Earth, if I'm not mistaken. If it's an Earth, then it's really not a problem at all. So, I think Prankets can definitely come back, guys. I mean, I think the game is sped up to the point where it can still compete. I think Prank could be a really good tier 2, maybe 1.5 deck, because being able to constantly blow up the board is really, really good, but it needs a way to be able to get off the ground, and just having no Meow Meow Mew, the entire deck is completely unplayable. So I think this could 100% get limited on the next Forbidden Limited. And I want to talk about potentially Wrap here as well, but we'll go ahead and leave that for a different discussion. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy this prediction list / wish list as well. Again, I just want to get my additional thoughts out there. Maybe the ban list will drop tomorrow, maybe it won't. Who knows? We will find out when we get there. But when it does drop, make sure you guys stay tuned on the channel for a live reaction, as well as the I'm not going to do a damage report. I'm not Tombox, but I am going to do an analysis, if you will, of what the decks are going to be coming up. What's going to be the next best decks? What decks are getting hit? How you can still play these decks, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in that, make sure you guys subscribe, like the video for more, and I'll see y'all in the next one.